guys, I was just filming, like, yammering on, and then all of a sudden it dawned on me that my lavalier mic was not plugged in. So when you use a GoPro, you have to use a mic when you're driving the truck, because if you don't, it's going to pick up so much ambient noise, road noise, that it drowns out your voice completely, so it does not work. So now we are plugged in and you can hear me yammering. And I've gotten a couple of great responses to these videos so far, and that's really cool. I know people like to see the point of view of the driver, and I've been wanting to do these for a long time, and I just didn't have things set up correctly. Of course, I'm going to be moving into a different truck soon, right in time for, so I just got it set up in time to move, but that's okay. At least now I know how to do it. It's not too difficult, and I'm really glad to be able to share it with you, although today is not a very pretty drive. So I'm happy though to see the sky is starting to lighten a little bit up ahead. Maybe we'll get some sunshine peeking through later, but I am determined to show you guys some of the incredible sunrises I get to see and or sunsets, because that is truly a highlight of driving. So I'm in Michigan. I'm headed to a Sam's Club DC with a load of cookies. One of my most favorite treats. I have quite the sweet tooth, always have, and if I had to choose, I'd probably go with cupcakes or cakes, anything involving buttercream I'm a fan of. So if you get involved buttercream with cookies, it's pretty much a win-win. Now you know, in case you're wondering, how I like to contribute to the diabetes. But so yeah, I'm headed to this DC, and last night when I saw the ETA, I was like, okay, that's, you know, I was figuring I'll get there, I'll get up at my usual like 3:15 and I'll get there. And then this morning, oh man, I'm like, why does this always happen to me? It dawned on me, this happens, okay, so when I'm going into a place that's farther east, like Pennsylvania or something, my brain automatically is like, okay, you need to account for the fact that you're switching time zones. But for some reason, I can't seem to get it through my head that Michigan is going to be in Eastern time. It's like, it is. You are going to be in Eastern time. You have to remember that, and I never do. So, and this is the last, that Walmart DC delivery that I was kind of freaking out about in the previous video, that ended up being on a window. I didn't need to freak myself out. All I needed to do is give them a call. And that's something I'm going to talk about in a video I'm planning on doing soon about tips for new drivers from my first year of truck driving. But one of the number one things you got to do is call ahead. And some of the more experienced drivers that have commented on my videos have said that it makes a huge difference to just call them yourself. Don't trust the company notes, because the people that are setting up the jobs in your company, the planners and stuff, they mostly probably have never driven trucks before, so they don't understand things from your end, and they don't really necessarily have a lot of sympathy or empathy for your experience. And you have to communicate directly with the customers sometimes to give yourself all the information that you need. It's a lot less stressful that way. So I called the Sam's Club when I realized I was going to be running behind to find out if I had any kind of a window for this delivery, and it turns out I did have exactly enough time to make it on time without worrying about the company being fined, or, I mean, I would have had to call my company and ask them to move the appointment to a later time. And this sort of speaks to the something I wanted to talk about that I saw in a Smart Trucking video recently. I mentioned him a few times, Dave, Smart Trucking, Canadian guy. I love his videos. I love his accent. He's a little bit of a curmudgeonly older super trucker, and I have an affinity for guys like that just, you know, he's just a cranky guy, and I want to give him a hug. But I've said this before, one of the things that perturbs me when I watch his videos is that I think he has a resistance to the idea of women doing trucking, because when he talks about truckers in any way, he always talks about it like he's talking about men and sort of like this brotherhood. And I can try to imagine from his perspective how different it must have been back in the day. And it was all men, you know, talking on the CBs to each other, no cell phones, doing things a different way. Like I was just watching one of his videos where he was talking about trucker hand signals and trucker camaraderie that you don't see on the roads anymore, because the population of truck drivers has really changed. I'd love to hear people comment on that if you've been a long-term driver about your experience. But I want to tell Dave, we out here. There's ladies out here, man. So I'll just say I'm one of the guys. I'll take it as the royal guys. We're all guys out here trucking, you know. No offense taken, but just, you know that we're here. And we don't do anything to make trucking less cool. If anything, it's the opposite, you know. Okay, I'm not going to go on a whole thing about that. I can do that anytime. But no, he does great content, though. I really value his perspective because it's so informed, because he's been a trucker for, I think, 40 years, he said, or something like that. So he's seen how the industry has changed. And he was talking about companies using the 10-hour DOT clock like an alarm clock, and they really do. And it's one thing that I really get bummed out by, because, so, you know, this week I came back from Pennsylvania, came back through Ohio, Indiana, and going into Eastern time, right after a time change, right after we set the clocks ahead, it was like a double whammy for me. So I've been really tired and recovering from that this week, and thankfully I'm a pretty healthy person. I feel like I bounced back pretty well. But I was still really tired. I can always tell how tired I am when I try to talk on the phone with people and I'm struggling to find words. That's how I started to get yesterday and the day before. So I was happy to get back to our terminal yesterday with a relay load I was dropping off kind of earlier. And I was like, oh, this is great. I can exercise. I can do a load of laundry. I washed my bedding. Funny side story there, not that funny, but kind of, is I have a habit of having a water bottle on the edge of the bed next to the wall so I can drink water while, you know, when I wake up during the night thirsty. And I should just put that on the there's like a little pull-out table that's on the left-hand side that I put the vaporizer humidifier thingy on. I should just set it next to that. But I don't, because it's more within reach when it's on the edge of the bed. Well, you know where this is going. This bottle leaked all over, like half a bottle of water leaked out. So there's this huge, like, it was soaked through into the mattress, even through layers. Luckily it was against the wall, not like on me, you know. But I was like, okay, well, I have an opportunity to wash my bedding. I needed to anyway. Things will get dried out. That's perfect. So I got that done. Ran on the treadmill, felt so much better, getting some exercise, man. It just is such a relief. It's like I feel like a pent-up hamster that needs to run on the wheel, you know. So, you know, I think, okay, great. I can still, you know, get back a little earlier, maybe get a little more sleep than usual. I got like an extra 15 minutes of sleep. Still struggle to get more than 6 hours a night, because that 10 hours goes by too fast, you know. And they schedule it so that you as soon as that 10 is up, you need to start. And that's what they did with this load, and I wasn't paying attention to the fact that I was going into Eastern time. So when I accepted the load last night, I was like, okay, awesome. And then this morning I looked again and I was like, no, doofus, you are going to lose an hour. Like, you didn't figure that out right. So instead of stressing myself out, I called the Sam's Club that I'm going to, the DC, and found out that I had an extra hour before it would be considered late. So that worked out perfectly. And I think I already said that. I'm being repetitive, but man, I'm sorry this is such a unpleasant looking drive today. Can't always be a pretty drive. We go to a lot of places and a lot of them are not that enjoyable to look at, and this is one of them. So, man, I am beat. I feel like the first coffee is wearing off and I need another one already. But yeah, so that's something that companies do. They set up the clock so that you have to start as soon as that 10 hours is up in order to make it on time for these appointments. And a lot of times the planners, they don't, you know, they don't know what we do. They don't understand. They don't know that there's a little extra time you might need to stop to use the restroom, to do whatever. So they set it up so you really just barely have enough time. And that's not always the case. Some of them are better about giving you a little extra cushion, but it's just the way it is. And so I'm actually really looking forward to going to the new job. I think it's going to be different, and part of the reason why is that the schedule is set up for a week at a time, which I talked about in another video that you're going to see before this one, I think. And I'm really glad for that. It's going to make it so that I can plan my week rather than not knowing where I'm going from one day to the next. It's really stressful when you're driving a truck and you don't know what your next assignment is going to be. I don't enjoy that. And it's all these piecemeal little runs. Well, that's because I'm on a Midwest regional account, so it's kind of understandable, but it would be better if they were able to plan a little more ahead. I don't know if that's realistic when you have this type of account. It might not be for them. But the company I'm going to be going west. I'm not going to be going east anymore. I'm really stoked about that. I'm thrilled to never have to drive in Indiana as long as I work on that account. I'm not going to be going anywhere east, not even in the Chicago area. I'm going to be driving in Wisconsin, which I enjoy Wisconsin, Minnesota, Denver area, New Mexico, Arizona, Dallas. Not my favorite, but now I know what to expect. It looks like, if you were to look at the road map there, it's like a toddler dropped some spaghetti onto the map. And then they built roads to map that. It's not fun in a truck, but once you've been there, at least you have a better understanding of it. And the drivers there leave much to be desired, let's say, at least in my very limited experience and from what other people have concurred with. But yeah, and then also possibly Florida, so I guess southeast, but not northeast, which is great for me. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the change. I have a really positive impression of the company thus far. But here's one of the big changes that I'm going to have to adapt to, is that I really don't need to get over necessarily. That car is way off the edge of the road, but I'm doing it anyway. I'm going to talk about something relating to that in a minute if I remember. I got blown over. That was some wind. That was a gust of wind. I'm loaded real light. I've got about 6,600 pounds of cookies. So I'll be a little more careful on those lane changes with the wind out here. But anyway, I'm going to be running reefer. So my whole trying to stay on a sleep schedule is about to get turned on its head, and I'm going to have to adapt. And it's like, I'm glad for that. I think I need to be challenged, and I need to get out of my comfort zone to an extent, but it's like I wouldn't want to be doing that with the company I'm at now, because I don't feel like I've been very well supported on the back end of this company. There's a couple of people who've been really good, but I feel like they're kind of the exception. And I'm not trying to be a hater or like be negative. It's just the reality that you get an impression of the people that are behind the scenes after a period of time, and you can tell when they really don't care about the drivers at all, and they don't understand, and they don't have, I don't think they have experience. I think they hire people whose experience is not related to logistics. So you end up getting in situations that are really stressful, and then also it harms your bottom line. These are the experiences of a company driver, and that's really what I wanted to get across in this channel as a company driver, sharing the experiences. I knew I was going to be dealing with a lot of BS because my dad was a company driver for his entire driving career. I don't know if he's going to go back to it or not once he recovers and gets his second hip replacement, which hashtag trucking. Hearing all the stories over the years and stuff, I didn't really get it until I got in the driver's seat myself and started to understand, like, okay, yeah, he was right. There are people that are in charge of your day that don't know what they're doing or don't care, or both. And when you get those rare people on the phone that are, there's a guy that was filling in this week for my fleet manager who was doing some training, and he's a retired truck driver, and he's real cool. And like when I talk to him, I can tell he knows what I'm dealing with, and that makes me feel safer. It's safety too. It's a safety thing. So anyway, yeah, I'm gonna have to get used to the reefer schedule weirdness, and I think it's not gonna be terrible because I'm gonna know where I'm going ahead of time for the whole week, so I can plan, and that lowers my stress level significantly, just knowing that. Also, it's a really small company, so I'll be dealing with the same people consistently who will actually know me. Like they know the people's names who work for them. It's very different than working for a bigger company where you know that you're just a truck number to them, you know? So the thing about changing lanes, that was another thing that Dave, the Smart Trucking channel, he did a video talking about that. I really like that he makes these very short videos just talking about a subject that is something I'll see the title of the video and I'll be like, oh yeah, I've been wondering about this, you know, from an experience standpoint. Let's see what he has to say about it. And he was talking about if you're a truck driver in the right lane, you have the right of way staying where you are, and merging traffic is technically like they are responsible for adjusting their speed. I mean, yeah, you want to adjust your speed obviously if you can, but changing lanes automatically takes away your, how did he put it? I'm not going to phrase it correctly. Basically, anytime you're a truck driver and you decide to change lanes, you're putting yourself at risk of liability, because it's inherently dangerous to change lanes in a truck. It's like, it's not the same as changing lanes in smaller vehicles. It's not like a quick little bloop bloop. It's like, okay, I have to be mindful of what's going on in these other lanes, and especially when you're dealing with like 3, 4, 5 lanes, then you have to be aware of more things that are happening. Like, are you going to cause another driver who's coming up in that lane to the left of you faster, like a couple miles an hour faster than you're going? Are you going to have to make him slow down, or her? You have to be aware of all this stuff. You have to really pay attention to everything that's going on around you and not put yourself or anyone else at risk. You shouldn't change lanes without a real need to do it. And that's where I was thinking just now when you saw me change lanes with that car that was on the shoulder, but it was way over in the grass. I technically didn't need to change lanes. I also could immediately tell that that car was abandoned. So there were no people there. That's another thing. It's like, you know, you're trying to get out of the way in case there's a person that could end up getting hit by you, but there was clearly no person there. So it's kind of a case-by-case basis, I think. Like, I always try to make space for any kind of vehicle that's on the shoulder, but if it's safer to just stay in your lane and keep your lane, then maybe that's the best thing to do. But the thing I was going to say that Dave said that was almost kind of contradictory in a more recent video, and he actually mentioned a corridor that I go through all the time, which is 94, like I-80 going into 94 to 294 from like Gary, Indiana through into like when you're going toward Wisconsin. The traffic is so crazy there, and there are a lot of other similar areas that you don't want to stay in the right lane as a truck, because the people that are merging are driving all crazy and they don't give a you-know-what if you are in the lane. They're just gonna like risk causing a huge accident, and they're gonna try to force you out of the way, which makes my head explode. It's like, I'm in a semi, you're in a car. No. I just want to look at them and go, no. You need to defer to us. You wouldn't have anything that you have if it wasn't for all of us. But cars have a really crappy attitude, car drivers, towards truck drivers, which I have been guilty of myself, so I really have no room to talk about it. I've also driven like crap around truck drivers before and feel bad every time a car does something jerky to me. I think, well, there's your trucker karma. You did it to yourself. Yeah, so that's, you know, whenever I'm in a more congested area, or any type of rush hour traffic, I'm not going to sit in that right lane. I'm going to stay over one lane, because I don't want to deal with the stupidity of merging traffic. It's just not safe. It's not worth it. I don't want to speed up, slow down. I don't want to waste fuel. I don't want to have to worry about some idiot driving a car who thinks that they're cool because they know how to push a pedal with their right foot, who's going to try to race around me when there's not enough room and they can't even see what's going on to the right, to the left of me, or in front of me. They're just going to risk it because F that truck driver, I'm going to just make them slow down. Okay, that's the mentality of a lot of drivers, and it's a bummer. But I don't want to end on a negative note. This weather is a little bit of a bummer. I kind of am almost hoping for a long unload so I can chill in my sleeper for longer, but I'm not going to take a nap because I need to work on video. There's never a moment where you can not work on something. especially when you're doing truck driving and making videos. It's a lot of time demand. I know there's other stuff I wanted to talk about in this video and I'm forgetting now, so I'll save it for another one because you guys know me, I can always talk. But and I will show myself again soon on camera. But I'm really glad that people enjoy these point of view videos too, even if it's a not pretty, gloomy, craptacular, rainy Michigan day. So thank you guys. I really, really, really appreciate you watching. And if you're watching this all still to this point, you must get something out of it. So please, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do, because I'm getting close to 1,000 subscribers and I'm getting closer to the point where I can monetize my channel. And a big goal of mine is to get out of this student loan debt that has been plaguing me for over 20 years. That's partly why I went into trucking, and you can personally help me in a very real way by subscribing to my channel. I hate to be one of those people that's like, please subscribe to my channel, but I really could benefit from it. So consider it if you don't mind. But while you're at it, have an awesome rest of your day. I hope you're seeing some sun where you are, and I will catch you later.